hello everyone. I'm Shreya Das. I'm from India. I'm a student of political science. I have done my master's in political science, and I'll be continuing my. I have already continued for my master's in German University. So today, my topic is about the myth of freedom of speech and expression in India. Now, being a student of political science and being the citizen of India, it is highly important to shed light on one of the pressing issues that is currently going on in India. The restriction to freedom of speech and expression in the name of sedition and other overboard laws seems to be one of those pressing issues that needs to be highlighted. So the freedom to talk and express one's own thoughts or opinion is a birthright of every human being. Absolute free speech and freedom of expression is a trademark of every democratic country and are given to their citizens. In India, unfortunately, just like the secular status, this freedom of speech and expression is not at all absolute. Though the citizens are endowed with the with the fundamental rights of freedom of speech and expression as per Article 19, Part 1A within the Constitution. However, after the adoption of Article 19, Part 2 in 1949 and the amendment within the article in 1951, reasonable restrictions have been imposed on this fundamental rights for the protection of sovereignty. This was there back in and there were sedition laws and other overboard laws that basically led to the curbing of freedom of speech and expression in India. So this article provides a comprehensive analysis of the current scenario of free speech and expression in India under the current government by reflecting on its history, under the former governments, through digging deeper into the evolution of the laws meant for conviction of the accused for speaking inappropriately about the government. Now, the freedom of speech and expression is guaranteed by Article 19, Part 1A of the Constitution of India, thereby restricting the state in imposing redundant restrictions on the implementation related to those rights. This article was therefore deliberated to defend the rights of the Indian citizens against the action of the state, other than within the legitimate execution of its power in regulating private rights in accordance with the public interest. However, after the imposition of Article 19, Part 2 in 1949, this absolute status of freedom of speech and expression in India somehow changed. Now, as per the original article, which is Article 19, Part 2, the citizens are endowed with the freedom of expression, speech and expression, Article 19, Part 1A, but as per Article 19, Part 2, the state has a right to impose restrictions in the interest of public order. Now, there are a lot of controversial or conspiracy theories related to the involvement of Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of independent India, in implementing this particular article of Article 19, Part 2 in 1949. However, it was not him, but B.R. Ambedkar and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who are the principal perpetrators. Now, one thing which needs to be included here is that Nehru is not the one to be blamed for including Article 19, Part 2, but he should be blamed for expanding the scope of Article 19, Part 2 in 1950, thereby amending Article 19, Part 2. As per this new Article 19, Part 2, it entails imposition of further restrictions on the rights and the interest of the security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation or incitement to an offense for which Nehru needs to be blamed. Now, this amendment took place, it came up after the verdict of the Supreme Court regarding Ramesh Thapar and Brij Bhushan, which was meant for striking down on pre-censorship regarding right-wing RSS journal and a ban on a left-wing journal. The original article was not meant to authorize state to impose restrictions on freedom of speech to safeguard the interest of public order. However, it was required to release the high burden of posing a threat to the state security. Now, Section 124A of Indian Penal Code pertaining to law of sedition. Section 124A dealing with sedition is a 141 years old law outlined by Thomas Babington Macaulay, and it was included in 1870 within the IPC. This is also included in independent India as well. As per the law, whoever by words, either spoken or written, or by signs, or by visible representation or otherwise, brings or attempts to bring into hatred or contempt, or excites or attempts to excite disaffection towards the government established by law in India, shall be punished with imprisonment, which may extend to 3 years, to which a fine may also be added. As quoted by Mahatma Gandhi, Section 124A has been designed to repress the liberty of the Indian citizens, being the prince among several political sections. Now, the one thing needs to be understand that there's a thin line of difference between sedition law in British India and sedition law in current India. Because under British India, sedition law was made non-cognizable. Because whenever a person is charged with sedition, then that charge needs to be bring into notice of the district magistrate. However, the scenario completely changed in 1970 under the regime of Indira Gandhi, and which is why the sedition law has become much more potent. The police, they have the right to arrest any person blamed for sedition without any warrant from the magistrate. Therefore, the Congress government being this makes the Congress government the harbinger of the self-inflicted wound. Now, freedom of speech in India is sliding down a dicey slope in prevailing scenario. In the current scenario, freedom of speech is eroding slowly and mauling through twisting the laws without even subjecting to abuse altogether. After the case of Ramesh Thapa versus the state of Madras and Brij Bhushan versus the state of Delhi in 1950, the Indian judiciary was first challenged to evaluate the role of the state to impose restrictions of freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Following the amendment, this article was basically meant to restrict people to say anything or to make any kind of statement that may invoke violence or may destabilize the sovereignty, which is quite fine. But in 1962, the first caste sedition case of Kedarnath Singh versus the state of Bihar took place, because Kedarnath Singh was subjected to sedition because he was the one, his speech, because he termed the government at that point of time as the one that is looting the wealth of the people, and he was also urging people to resort to revolution, which is actually the main cause behind the inclusion of sedition. But in current scenario, it seems that the people being critical of the government, they are also subject to sedition. As rightly pointed out by Justice Lokur, the plodding erosion of the most valuable fundamental rights, freedom of speech and expression, is directing to the destruction of the human rights related to dissent and protest. Today, labeling expression of different viewpoint or dissent as a bona fide speech or sometimes a security threat is largely prevalent. Detention as an under trial is a formidable experience for the individuals whose cries regarding innocence are not paid heed and would look up to the judiciary for the protection of freedom of speech. However, they would get overwhelmed by the slow justice system. The matter of fact is that sedition law is highly checkered and is implemented depending on the context and the perpetrator. Now, in terms of sedition, several contradictory instances are seen. When rival gangs are witnessed confronting and threatening each other of killing, attempting of murdering, as well, law and order situation crops up instead of sedition, and such cases have been dealt with as a pure law and order chaos. Similarly, when known personalities are giving speech on social media or any public platform invoking genocide, they are overlooked and considered as government loyal, exercising fundamental right of speech and expression. However, on the other hand, if a protest for a cause is happening without invoking any violence, that is labeled as a criminal offense, and the perpetrators are charged of sedition, which shouldn't be the case under any circumstance. It is highly essential to draw a clear distinction between free speech and sedition. However, unfortunately, the difference falls on deaf ears and blind eyes by the establishment. Several instances can be seen where sedition laws, not only sedition laws, there are also other overboard laws that are imposed on people for channeling free speech or expression. In 2012, two young women were arrested for a simple Facebook post under Section 505 of the IPC entailing companion law, owing to one's fault of questioning the necessity for declaration of a holiday on the demands of a political leader, which was liked by another. Now, this sedition cases took place since 1962, but it became rampant after 2012. The frequent utilization of the sedition law can be traced back to 2012 at the time of India Against Corruption movement. Among the first one arrested for the sedition charge is a political cartoonist named Asim Trivedi. His fault was that he depicted the national emblem of three lions along the parliament building in an objectionable manner to the which seemed to be objectionable to the authority. He was charged with sedition. However, the authenticity of the charge has not yet been proven. Now, under the current government, the Narendra Modi-led BJP government, 96% sedition cases have been witnessed to be filed against 4 or 5 people as per new Article 14 database. Although the Congress-led UPA government has been the vanguard of this rise of these laws, but it seems that the current government is acing it. New phony methods have been introduced for silencing speech, which is to attribute a speaker of something that he or she never uttered. Dr. Kafil Khan was arrested under the National Security Act (NSA) in January 2020 for allegedly giving a provocative speech during the Anti-Citizenship Amendment Act protest at the Aligarh Muslim University, which in reality is yet to be proven. Similar subject of provenance manifested when a student activist was accused of making a provocative speech, and that led to inciting violence and attempt to murder through a speech given on February 25, 2020, and she was arrested on May 25th, 2020 without any concrete evidence. She was later on given bail on September 1st, 2020 without the presence of any kind of concrete evidence. So the most recent case starring a lot of controversy is that of an upcoming stand-up comedian, Munawar Iqbal Farooqui, who was arrested in Indore for allegedly hurting Hindu sentiments by making a joke as per the accusation of an intruder, which he didn't even make that day. He apologized for that, and he also validated that the joke which he made, that was a long time he made that a long time ago, and he didn't do it purposely to hurt Hindu sentiments. He said that he even made jokes out of his own religion, just for pleasure, not for hurting any kind of sentiment. Later on, it was found out that the intruder was none other than Eklavya Lakshman Singh Gaur, who was the son of a known political leader of the particular place, and a very much active member of the current government, current party. Now, these exemplars of pulled up cases lead to harrowing inference in regards to the exercise of freedom of speech and expression in India. 149 people, or even more so, have been charged with the accusation of making derogatory or critical remarks against the Prime Minister. The recent among these cases has been filed on May 15, 2021 in the capital Delhi by 25, and 25 FIRs have been filed against people for putting up posters entailing the sarcastic mocking of the PM for his vaccination policy. The prevalent silencing of the dissent doesn't come under Article 19, Part 2 of the Indian Constitution, depicting taking actions against those who intend to spread violence against the government. It was meant to obviously take actions against those whose statement would lead to destabilize the authority or the sovereignty. It doesn't mean that people, the citizens, being citizens of India, being the citizen of a democratic country, if a person is being critical of the government or just voicing his or her dissent, they should not be subjected to sedition or any kind of overboard laws, which is the case, which is unfortunately the case now. Now, the unfathomable case witnessed in the pandemic era is when a man named Shashank Yadav in UP tweeted for release in regards of oxygen cylinder for his grandfather, who was arrested on April 28, 2021. The Uttar Pradesh police registered a criminal case against him for circulating rumor intended to spread fear among the masses. In the recent scenario, in regards of freedom of expression, several overboard laws are taken being upheld in order to stifle speech and create a hostile environment to critical voices in both real world and also in online, thereby endangering the status of free expression in India. A report has been released by the PEN International entitled India Pursuing Truth in the Face to Intolerance, outlining the dissenting voices of writers, journalists, academics, and students facing intimidation, prosecution, harassment, physical violence. The attacks and killings of the journalists have been persistent, unabated. The killing of Gauri Lankesh, the murder of Gauri Lankesh in 2017, is the most talked about one. Who was a renowned journalist. 154 journalists within the last decade have been detained, interrogated, and arrested, or even served notices regarding show cause due to the professional front, among which 40% were filed in 2020. Politicians have filed various defamation cases seeking slap suits and damages in millions and millions. Around 30 arrests took place within the area in Northeast Delhi last year, with Muslim majority from March 2020 to mid-April 2020. Worrisome number of 802 arrests of the protesters occurred, with 6 to 7 convictions each day, among which 50 were taken place in the midst of the lockdown. Now, Muslim youth activists were also largely targeted and arrested, which ultimately manifested in the arrest of the student leaders of Jamia Millia Islamia, namely Miran Haider, Safura Zagar, and Umar Khalid. All their fault was that they wanted to protest for the NRC and CAA. The situation became all the more contemptuous when the chairperson of the Delhi Minorities Commission was charged with sedition, because all his fault was that he conveyed a notice to the police commissioner stating the unlawful conviction of the dozens of young Muslim boys each day. The current government set an exemplar regarding stifling of decent by arresting a student's widowed mother and the headmistress for allegedly being involved in staging a drama projecting the PM poorly due to the NRC and CA bill in Bidar, Karnataka. Not only that, the students of that particular school they were also detained for 3 to 4 hours and they were questioned regarding the same. Now, since the last year, since the last half of the last year and the beginning of this year, we have seen so many protests going on for the farm bills. The introduction of the agricultural reforms in the farm bills in September 2020 resulted in a tide of protests by the farmers along with civilians. The farmers firstly expressed their dissatisfaction with peaceful protests through railway blockages along with within the states of Haryana and Punjab, which were prevented through digging trenches and blocking the highways along with truck parking on the roads towards the capital. Tear gases were also used in order to prohibit them from entering the capital so that they cannot negotiate with the authority. These attacks, unleashed in violence, it eventually took a violent form, which ultimately manifested on 26 January 2021, where excessive force as well as tear gases were utilized to dismiss the protesters, thereby injuring many. The journalists who covered that particular incident, they were arrested. Journalist named Amandi Punia was assaulted and later detained in custody to thwart the policemen, which seemed to be an attempt of clamping down the journalist activities. Furthermore, 8 journalists faced relentless criminal charges for covering the farmers' protest. Moreover, a 22-year-old climate activist named Disha Ravi was also kept in the Delhi police custody for 5 days post her arrest in Bangalore for sharing the tweet of Greta Thunberg, a Swedish climate activist, which is allegedly a toolkit of the farmers' protests without any proof. Now, this imposition of several draconian laws on citizens expressing their views against the government acts has endangered the status of India as the world's largest democracy. The central government seems to make mountains out of molehills if anyone dares to speak against it or express their differences of opinion. It has been seen that the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand Trivendra Singh Rawat, has been removed overnight from his position, though there was a lot of tension already there between the former Chief Minister and the current government. Yet he was removed overnight from his position because he expressed his concern about the COVID cases and he wanted to impose restrictions on the Mahakumbh festival, which is apparently one of the biggest festivals of Hindus. This exemplifies the dire environment in regards of free speech and expression in the so-called largest democratic country in the world. As per the Wall report, related to the Freedom House's report, the status of India has downgraded to a partly free country from a free country, especially owing to the onslaught of speech along with expressing dissent by civil society groups, academics, media, along with protesters, especially under the ongoing Narendra Modi-led BJP government. Freedom of speech is highly shared, and so is the freedom of expression. Based on differences in judgment regarding chains of people booked under sedition law, parts of other law intended to protect public order based on multiple contexts. However, under the shambles of protecting law and order by the authority, freedom of speech is faltered in a twisted way, especially under the current government. Human beings, irrespective of caste, class, creed, religion, or sex, they are endowed with the basic privileges to have speech or express their emotions or context. Now, the absolutism in terms of, it differs from countries to countries. For example, a country like North Korea doesn't endow its citizens with absolute freedom of speech and expression, but a democratic and liberal country like USA, it endows its people with freedom of speech and expression. India imposed several restrictions after the inclusion of Article 19 Part 2 and the amendment within Article 19 Part 2, but that doesn't mean that people speaking their mind or expressing their opinion about the government would be charged with sedition and other overboard laws. A threat to freedom of speech and expression is a threat to democracy in itself. It was the UPA government which has paved the way of utilizing sedition laws and other draconian laws for thwarting the environment of free speech and expression, and the current BJP government is actually acing it. The prevailing scenario is hostile to people exercising their fundamental right of freedom of speech and expression without inciting any violence. That is highly disquieting. The current government is leaving no stone unturned to stifle dissent, so much so that even people are being convicted with allegation which is absolutely fake and based on assumptions. It is highly important. It is high time to revise draconian laws and make its utilization as minimal as possible. These are my references. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation.